Hey, y'all, I'm going to come straight out of the gate and let you know that some of you are not going to like what I have to say today. But I want you to listen, anyways, because ultimately there's a lesson within it all. So here it is. People are full of a ton of lies and excuses. I'll tell you right now that there's many people listening that fit into this category. I know this because I've also been there. Now, hold on just a second, and I'll get more specific.
Leaders are not born in a womb. They are forged through heat, pressure, and a whole lot of sweat. The Fire Forge Leader podcast serves the audience through exploring leadership at work, in the community, and with the family, using a practical perspective and real-life experiences from the host, Steve Baumgartner, and his guests in the Forge. Now, it's time to enter the Forge with the Fire Forged Leader.
What is up, leaders? Welcome to the Fire Forge Leader podcast. I'm Steve Baumgartner, your host and founder, and I would like to take you on a journey of the Forge. And we're going to explore some lessons learned on the front lines leadership. So every day that I'm on this earth, I find more and more people that are saying things like, well, you don't agree with me because of, and insert whatever political belief that you want to at the end of that sentence. Or that person simply acts that way to me because and insert a religious belief. I get treated wrong because I'm insert a gender. My boss is picking on me because I'm insert the color of your skin at the end of the sentence. Those are all things that we all hear almost every day in this country. Now, come on, people. I get that there are some people out there who are just simply assholes. They're racist, they're bigots, whatever. And they act this way towards people, and say these kind of things, do these kind of things. But I'm also going to tell you that it's not as prevalent as what people want you to believe. It's really few and far between. And it's few and far between for no other reason. It could be no other reason, but because people are willing to drag people out in the public square and totally break them down in front of others. But really, I think inherently people are decent people. No matter what we want to call them. So with that being said, here's what I think is really going on. The people that are out there professing these things, these nasty, nasty things about other people, they're really on the defense because they're not right with themselves and their own integrity. Over time, they've decided they're going to take the easy road, the one that deflects their own personal defects onto another person, the road that requires absolutely no effort for them to change their own behaviors. What this ultimately does is it leads people to start believing their own lies. So much so that they start to get others to believe in their bullshit as well. And other people believe in this bullshit because this person believes their own bullshit and they're being authentic about it. At the end of the day, though, at the end of the day, people, it's still the same stinky pile, flies buzzing, stinky pile of bullshit. So let me tell you a recent example. This one makes me laugh a little bit because this was a conversation I actually had with another man. So I heard this guy say the other day, "Yeah, they pull me over because I'm black." I'm sorry, I'm thinking to the end, but let me tell you how this really went. So he tells me he got pulled over because he was black. All right. So I hook, line, and sinker, right? And I ask him, "How do you know they pulled you over because they were black? Did they call you the N word or something?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm getting furious," right? Because it came off to me. It was really wrong. He told me that they pulled him over because he was black. And I was ready to go to battle for him, right? So I asked him, I said, "Did they call you the N word?" "Well, no, but I was in the rich part of town and I was the only black person there," he said. So I inquired again. "So you're telling me they pulled you over because you're black? What makes you think that?" Right? Because I figured he had to have a reason for it. He goes, "I just told you." He stated, and he's starting to get irritated because at this point I'm questioning him too much or whatever. So I switched up my line of questioning for a bit because I was really intrigued by this. So I asked him, I'm like, "Okay, so you said that they pulled you over because you were black, but what was the reason?" "Well, I was speeding." I'm like, "Wait, hold up. So could it be that you believe that they pulled you over because you're black, because you were going the correct speed limit, and they use that for an excuse?" I'm trying to give them a way out here at this point, right? I was thinking that there had to be a reason why they pulled him over because of his color. He's like, "No, I was speeding, but I'm sure there were other people that were out there speeding too." And I'm gonna stop doing quotes now because it gets absolutely silly from here. The rest of the conversation, I mean, it got comical, people. I asked him, I said, "Did you see other people speeding around you? Did they single you out?" He's like, "No, no. I was passing everybody, but I'm sure there was someone speeding." Hmm. He was sure that there were other people speeding. I'm like, "But the police saw you speeding?" "Yeah, they saw me, but I'm sure they saw other people too." And then throughout this conversation, I find out that there was 2 officers. One was white and one was black. And I'm like, "So, I don't really understand the dynamics here," and he went on to tell me that, well, that officer's not really black because he hangs out with a white cop. I'm like, "Come on, dude. These guys get paired together by their bosses, right?" It's not like he's choosing to hang out with a white guy. Who cares if he chooses to hang out with a white guy? I don't get that whole thing. But at the end of it, there was no basis for his original claim, what he had told me about being pulled over because he was black. He was speeding, okay? He was breaking the law. And the story just kept on going on and on and on. And the crazy thing is if he would have kept on going, I think I probably would have believed him because he believed him. Now, I want to tell you at the end of the story, before anybody says it, I don't want you to get me wrong. As I said earlier, I believe there is some of this that goes on. There's there's people who get pulled over for being black. I fully understand that. There's people who are racist in the world. I fully get that out. There's some real ass clowns out there. I'm positive of it. However, this was not the case. Not in this situation. This man simply was not owning his own shit. He was breaking the law and he got caught. The bad part about it, like I stated before, is he really believed the crap that was spewing out of his pie hole. All right, now let's take that down a notch. This really permeates into every bit of human nature. All right. Now, taking it back off him and bringing it to me for a little bit, we're going to talk about this husband and wife scenario at my house, about me and my wife. I know I've mentioned multiple times that I made some mistakes in my life. Many of these that currently happen is because I have a quick reaction to things. It's something that I work to control every day, and sometimes I'm much better at it than others. I'm going to tell you about a time when I wasn't very good at. And this just happened a couple days ago. But anyways, my reactions come quick. They come quicker than I think a lot of times. And in these moments, I can have a pretty sharp tongue. Don't judge me. You got your own stuff. I'm just kidding. You can go ahead and judge me. Anyway, last week we were having uh, a late dinner, and one of my children was tired. He was cranky. He was acting out at the table, and we were just trying to get through this meal and have some family time, and it wasn't going the way that we planned. And he was just having a hard time being calm at the table. He was being disrespectful. He was being rude. Uh, he was beating up on my tabletop, and we're talking about a young kid. We're not talking about a teenager, right? But I gave him a final warning. I told him that if he did not get his stuff under control, that he would have to leave my table and go to bed for the night. And this went on for a little while longer, and finally I got tired of it, and I was about ready to speak up, and he got up, he jumped up, he spewed something. I can't remember all the words that came out of his mouth, but when he marched off, he said, "I'm going to my room and I don't want to see you again tonight." And the response came very quickly from me. I said, "Yeah, I don't want to see you tonight either." Right. And to be honest with you, in that moment, I was just thinking I was a comedic star. I thought that I was being sarcastically funny, thought that my wife was going to get a little bit of a kick out of it because she was also frustrated. Yeah, that wasn't the case. And that's when the look from my wife hit me right in the retinas. You know this look. It's the one that starts to burn you on the back of your skull. It's the one that penetrates right through your brain and hits you in the back of that cavity. And it gets hot and you start to sweat. And you're like, "What do I do?" Well, I spouted off again because I wasn't thinking very clearly. And I said something like, "Oh, is this when you would have handled it better than me?" Yeah, that's the wrong time for that. Anyhow, for the next half hour, my wife, of course, uh, she did very well holding her tongue, but she ended up leaving the table as well. And for the next half hour in my head, I build up this story. You know, why couldn't she have supported me? Why didn't she just stand up? All that kind of thing. And on the record play. And it hit the skip and it'd play again. And it would skip and it would play again. And as this record played in my head, I was starting to believe my own bullshit, just like that gentleman I was talking about earlier. But then finally, my thoughts got under control and I decided I was going to step off this ride. So there's my example. And I want to switch gears just for a second. I want you to imagine if I wouldn't have gotten off that ride and then, just build up that anger, build up that resentment. And I went to work the next day and I started telling people, yeah, my wife, she was being all nasty last night. I tried to discipline my kid and she got in the way. She wouldn't stand up for me. She's dividing our marriage, whatever kind of crap that I would have spewed. Well, I tell you something about people, when they spew that kind of crap, it's one sided. They're not owning up to their own shit. I wouldn't owned up to mine. And those people that I would have told would have been right there to support me and this stupid story that I had built up in my head. Instead, when I got off the ride, what I did was I went and I apologized to my son. And we talked through what happened at the dinner table. And I showed him that I was human. And then I went and I apologized to my wife. And we talked. And she forgave me. And what it did in both of those moments is it strengthened those relationships rather than torn them down more. So let's talk about how we get off that ride. This really comes with retraining our minds. And when I talk about retraining our minds, is what we need to do is visualize the right outcome. And really, what it is it's taking ownership, right? And when we visualize it and we take ownership, we can change it and mold it into our own reality, right? The reality of our future self. Now, what we do when we don't take that ownership and we use all these damn excuses, what we do is we give our power away to other people. Other people control our behaviors at that point. We give them that power to control how we react. So let's talk about this visualization technique for a minute. I want to take you back a year ago. And we see Tom Brady ball in hand. Okay. I'm not a big Tom Brady fan, but the man's got skills. He also carries a purse, but he's got skills. All right. So Tom pulls back. He releases this ball and it lands in the hands of Mike Evans, 57 and a half yards down the field. At this time, during this game, Tom was 45 years old. 45 years old, right? You got people all the way around the fringe who are talking about how old he is and he should retire football and blah, 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 because of his age. But let's stop and think about what Tom was thinking at the moment. All right. Tom Brady, what's going through his head when he goes to throw this ball? Do you think he was telling himself, yeah, I don't know about throwing it that far. I'm pretty old for a quarterback. Hell no. He looked at his man downfield. He stayed confident in his abilities. And he launched the ball and made the damn play. And that's what we need to do. We need to act like Tom Brady in this moment. Rather than thinking about all the external damn excuses that we can think of, Oh, it's my skin color. Oh, it's my gender. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. No, hell no. Believe in yourself. Take that power back and make the damn play. Visualize how you're going to get ahead and stop thinking about how someone else is going to get in your way. But we also need to slow it down in the moment. All right. We need to check ourselves. So you heard what I did. That was because I did not slow down in the moment. We need to check ourselves. We need to breathe. Sometimes we've been thinking this way for a long time. I was in that trap. I thought that way for a long time. Oh, it's because I was adopted. It was because I was unloved. It was because yeah, bullshit. It was because I didn't believe in myself. And it became this automated response. So we need to slow down in the moment and check ourselves to eliminate that automatic response. Once we eliminate that automatic response and we can identify that it's a pile of BS, we can start to control that narrative inside our own heads. You can't do this if you're just reacting. And then finally, if we get in a situation where we've already reacted, we didn't do the right thing, so on and so forth, like the gentleman with the police did, or like what I did with my wife. We need to reflect on it so that we can grow, and we also need to make it right. We reflect so that we can grow, but then we make it right because people that we lead, we are serving, and we can serve them better by building out that relationship and letting them know that we're human and that we realize that we have faults. So let's go through that again. We need to visualize. We need to slow down in the moment and we need to reflect and make it right. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson today. Leaders, you have come here to listen to this message, but listening is not enough. I challenge you to take what you learned here today and apply it in your life this week. Remember, when you become a better leader, you become a better spouse, a better parent, a better coworker, and ultimately that person that other people want to follow. So I invite you to grow in your leadership skills for your family, for your community, and for the ones you lead at work. Before I get into closing this thing out, a lot of people have asked me recently places that they can go to financially give to counter sex trafficking movements. And I want to share two with you today. The first one is where a friend of mine, Kevin Metcalf, claims his home at, and that is the Sentinel Foundation. You can find the Sentinel Foundation at www.foundationsentinel.org. Once again, that's www.foundationsentinel.org. The second one is from another gentleman by the name of Ben Owen. We see him online a lot in this space, helping out veterans, helping out people in the drug track, helping out children, helping out women who are abused, people that have been trafficked. And he and his wife run a phenomenal couple of organizations. But the one that I want to talk about tonight is We Fight Monsters. And you can look that one up at www.wefightmonsters.org. Once again, that's www.wefightmonsters.org. www.wefightmonsters.org. With that being said, I still plan on releasing in October the counter sex trafficking series that I'm putting together. It's going to be a powerful series. What I plan to do is still continue to release the leadership ones and then give you the special series on the side. Week after week, we'll have a new episode, and I'll somehow figure out how to group those together. Ultimately, we got to go out there and make an impact with our leadership. And this is this is a huge impact for me to be able to bring this out to the masses. And then once again, I invite you to check out my children's website. We make some creative type items. We also use the learning from that business for our homeschooling, and you can find that at www.second with the number 2 ND chaptercreatives.com. Once again, that's www.secondchaptercreatives.com, and the second is the number 2 ND. Once again, I appreciate that you are here today. And if you appreciate what you heard here today, I invite you to leave a rating and a review. This helps us rank up in the statistics for podcasts and helps us reach out to more and more people, more and more leaders out in the world. And once again, smash that subscribe button on whatever podcasting app you're currently listening to so that you don't miss a single episode. I invite you back to continue learning with us here in the Forge as we bring you lessons learned on the front lines of leadership. We'll continue to bring in some amazing guests. We've had people like Drago Zierden. We've had Ray Cash Care. We've had Nick Lavery. And the list continues to grow. But for that list to continue to grow, we need to keep on reaching out and making sure more people are listening. With that, I'm Steve Baumgartner. It's been a pleasure. Go out there and lead with intent, my friends.
You have just experienced the heat and pressure of the Forge. Remember, words without action are meaningless. Now, after the heat of the Forge, shape your thoughts, quench your brain, then put your new tools to use, adding to your leadership. Tune in next week for more lessons from the Forge.